Alright guys, welcome back. Today we're diving deep into user form combo boxes in VBA. We'll begin by exploring how to set up a single combo box, covering both static scenarios and dynamic scenarios. Static scenario or static combo boxes are combo boxes where the values or the entries are fixed, while dynamic combo boxes are combo boxes where the entries can be updated in real time as data is being added or removed from the worksheet. So we'll go through that. We'll also learn how to manage and delete entries from the combo box using the list index concept. We'll also learn about list count and list function with examples. After that, we'll move on to dependent combo boxes. Dependent combo boxes are essentially combo boxes whereby selecting one entry from the first combo box will activate the corresponding dependencies in the second combo box. If you're not clear about that, never mind. Okay, we will be going through practice problems later on, based on a project I've developed for my company quite some time ago. Right. So let's dive right in for the case of single combo box. Okay. So I'm just gonna have a fresh worksheet open, and I'm just going to type in some values. Right. Environment, asset, and reputation. Okay. And reputation. So I'm just going to have a shape ready to assign the macro to call the user form, right? Because we're going to call the user form from the workbook, right? We've seen that previously. And then I'm going to go to my VBA editor, and I have a fresh VBA editor, okay? And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a user form. And then if you don't see a toolbox, go to view and then toolbox, okay? Have the toolbox checked. Then the next thing is I'm going to insert a module, right? The module is where we're going to write the procedure to call the user form. And we're going to assign that to the shape, okay? So the user form, I'm just going to name it whatever, combo, right? And caption is the form name, combo box. All right. So I have my user form. So the first thing I want to do is I want to insert some combo boxes. I'm going to insert 3 combo boxes. The first combo box is for the static case, and we are populating from the VBA editor. The second combo box is we are populating from the worksheet. The third combo box is we are populating from the worksheet, but it's dynamic. So I'm just going to control drag, okay, creates a second combo box. Control drag again, it creates the third combo box. Okay, I'm not going to not worry too much about the alignment. So the first combo box name is named combo box 1, combo box 2, and then I have combo box 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the code editor, okay, and I'm going to go into the user form and initialize event. Okay, I'm going to go to the initialize event, because remember when I told you about the initialize event where we use this event, because this event is invincible, it is running in the background, but users are not able to see it. So this is where we populate entries into the user form controls. Okay, so now let's go into case 1. Static entry for combo box 1. Okay, so that was a code name, combo box 1, and populate it from the VBA code, right? So we are populating this combo box 1 from the VBA code. So the way we're going to do it is combo box 1. I'm going to use IntelliSense dot add item, and then I'm just going to say people, okay? And then I can just copy and paste it, okay? Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V. So remember the 4 values I keep into the worksheet: environment, asset, and reputation. So I have this done for the first one. So if I go, now I'm going to assign the macro, right? To assign, I'm going to assign a macro so that I can insert it into the shape, right? So form, right? I'm going to write a procedure that is going to call the user form. Okay, it's a very simple procedure. And then I'm going to assign that to the macro. Assign that to the shape. So if I run it, I can see the form, right? So this form is populated from where? It's populated from the VBA code. Remember that, okay? During the initialization event. Initialization event doesn't run, but you will see the results, okay? Next, static entry for combo box 2, but we are referencing from the range in the worksheet. Okay, so the way we're going to do it is we're going to use the combo box 2, right? So dot row source equals to sheet 1, because there's a sheet where the table is, right? And then we're going to say A1 to A4. That's where the values are parked. Okay, and then I'm going to say dot address, and always have a habit of writing these after the address. Okay, external true. Okay, it's a good habit, right? So when if you're using the row source to populate entries into your list box or combo box, always have this. Okay, it's a good habit. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to explain to you what the row source is. So if I go to my combo box properties, I'm going to see the row source. So I will see the row source. The row source is basically where I will be able to assign a reference range from the worksheet. Okay, so that's exactly what we're doing it, but we are using the initialization event, okay, to reference the range. Okay, and now I think we're pretty much done with that. So combo box 2 row source. Now if I close this form and I just run the thing again, I'll be able to see the same thing. Okay, the same thing here, but you have to remember the second one is populated a reference from the worksheet. The first one we use the add, right? You're right, we wrote it into the VBA code. Right? So if you change your value here, I'm just going to say S here. If I run the value, now you would see that S here has been reflected. Okay, but S here has not been reflected. Okay, so that's the difference there. But you have to remember, both cases that I've covered, they are static case, meaning that they are not able to update accordingly if values are added or removed from this range. Okay, so that's why we're going to do case 3. Dynamic case. Okay, dynamic case for combo box 3. Okay, I'm going to do this. And if you have a dynamic case, remember we always use the L row as long. What was the L row? The L row was just sheet 1 dot range A and rows dot count dot n xl up dot row. Okay, we've gone through that many times. So what we're going to do is we're going to concatenate it with, so I'm going to use IntelliSense, control enter dot row source, and then I can just copy this. All right, we're gonna try to make it quick, so we're gonna try to save time because we have quite some ground to cover, right? And then A and I'm going to concatenate it with the L row. So now this one is dynamic. Alright, if I close this and I run the form again, you see, it looks the same. They look the same, but if I remove an entry here, now I'm gonna try to remove an entry. I'm gonna clear content. So if you run this, if you go to the user form 2, you would think that, well, this one is, well, we're not going to go into that, right? This is populated from VBA. Now this one, you would think that, well, the value is refracted. Actually, no, right? There's a blank, right? There's a blank space there, right? There's actually a fourth entry, it's just blank. But this one, you see, as that, it's exactly 3. Okay, so if I add back reputation and I add another some random value, okay, second is not getting updated, third one is getting updated. Okay, so that's the difference. Now I run again and you would see that, well, okay, right? So that's about it for populating entries into combo boxes. Now what about deleting rows? I mean, deleting entries from the combo box, right? So let's introduce a button, right? I'm going to go and insert a command button, okay? And then I'm just going to say, call this delete, and the caption is going to be delete as well. Okay, all right. So I'm going to introduce you to the concept. I'm going to right click. If you want to go directly into the event, right, you just right click and go into it, right? So you don't have to select it from here. And And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to the concept of list index. List index as, I'm just going to take this as long, right? List index is the selection you have made. So if I go into my combo box and I make some selection, right? If I make the selection asset, right? That is the selection, but it's not going to give you the selection, basically asset. It's going to give you the selection, the number on the index, right? So the index in the list index for a combo box starts from 0, okay? List index combo box starts from, I'll show it to you. I'll prove it to you in a while, okay? Starts from 0. List index -1 means there is no selection, okay? So keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to assign this list index variable that I've just declared earlier to me dot combo box 1 dot list index, right? So this is going to return me the list index. Now I'm going to message box the list index, okay? So I'm just going to make some selection. So this is combo box 1. I'm going to run the thing. I'm going to try to make some selection environment. Okay, then I'm going to delete. You see, it's giving me number 1. Why is it giving me number 1? Because the list index starts from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's why it's giving me number 1. So if I go to people, it's going to give me 0. Okay, so that's why I've proven to you that the list index starts from 0. Now what I want to do is I want to remove items. I can just use this command. Okay, combo box 1 dot remove item from, and I'm going to say the list index, basically what you have selected. Remember, the list index is always what you have selected. I'm going to comment out this message box, okay, and then I'm going to run it again. I'm going to delete environment, basically what I've selected. Now if I go back, environment gets deleted. I'm going to delete asset gets deleted, okay? So this is how we remove items from the combo box, okay? One thing I want to point out, one thing though, you can remove item on combo box where you populate it using row source, right? Basically what I'm saying is that in the combo box 2, I have populated the combo box using the row source, right? Reference it from the worksheet, right? So you can't do that. So if I dim list index 2, this is something that you might come across in the future, and I don't want you to get confused, so that's why I'm just going to show it to you right now, right? Even if it's going to take slightly longer, never mind, okay? We have the time. I have the time. I hope you have the time as well, or make the time for it, okay? It's important because we're covering a lot of new things here, okay? So me dot combo box 2 and then click enter dot remove item, and I'm going to say list index 2, right? Now I'm just going to comment all this one out, right? The one that we have run earlier, and I'm just going to, and then I'm going to comment this one out as well, right? So we are going to try to do the same thing that we did the first case, but we're going to use this combo box 2, okay? Now if I try to delete items from combo box 2, environment delete, I get a debug error, okay? So that's exactly what I meant. So if you see that in the future, you know what it is, okay? Because you have used the row source, okay? So I'm going to comment this out, and then I'm just going to uncomment it, this one, and then uncomment it, because I'll be sharing the workbook, so I want it to look clean, right? So next thing, we're going to learn how to loop through the combo box entries, okay? So we're going to study about the list count, not study, we're going to go through the list count, right? Well, actually we are studying, right? So, well, a little humor on the way never hurts, okay? So delete 2, right? So we can have space for the caption, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click. I'm just going to directly go into it, right? Not right click, just double click on it, right? So first of all, let's talk about what is list count, right? I'll show to you what's list count, right? You'll see it in live demo, right? So I'm just gonna name a variable list count as long. Okay, some random variable, but this variable will hold the list count variable. So the list count, how do we get the list count? Is just gonna say me combo box. I'm gonna use combo box 1 dot list count. Okay, that's basically control enter. Okay, now I'm gonna message box list count. Okay, so the list index was the position, right? The position that you have selected. The list count. Now if I run this, I'm gonna get 4. Why am I getting 4? Because there's 4 entry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the list index starts from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3. So if you're looping through the combo box, what would you do? You would loop from I equals to 0, right? Because that's the first entry in the combo box starts from 0. And when you go to list count, because list count has 4, right? So if the first item in the combo box starts from 0, then the fourth item will be number 3. So that's why we go list count minus 1, right? And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to do some example on, I'm just going to dim I as long. And then I'm going to say for I equals to 0 to list, we're going to loop through the combo box. Okay, list count 1. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say me message box me dot combo box 1 dot list I. Okay, so this one is going to give us, basically when we loop through from 0 to all the way to all the entries, it's going to return me the text string or the entry in the combo box. Okay, and then I'm just going to next I, right? I have to go next I. Don't forget that, right? If you really want to be very specific in your code, you can always do step 1. Okay, never hurts, and it's a good practice. In fact, I encourage that. Now, if I go to delete 2 for people, environment, asset, reputation. Okay, you see, I'm saying all the entries as I do. Okay, so the message box here was just you saw the 4 because there was this message box here. So don't worry about that. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to loop through the combo box 1 basically, right? And delete the entry if I have selected asset. Okay, so it's going to be something similar. So I'm inside the loop for I equals to 0 to list counters. Basically, I'm going through all the entries. The first thing I want to say is that if I make no selection, right? If I don't have a selection, then I want to exit the sub, right? So this is why I'm going to say me dot combo box 1 control enter dot list index equals to -1. Then exit the sub, right? So I want to leave the sub. Now, what I want to say is that if my combo box dot list, if I selected asset, right? So if this thing me dot combo box list I equals to asset, right? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the item, like how we have removed the item in the first delete button, remove item. But this one we remove what we have selected. This one we remove the iteration. Okay, so we're using this one, right? I'm going to say if, right, control V, list I equals to asset, then I'm going to say me dot combo box 1 dot remove that item in that iteration. So if it happens to match with the asset, then I'm going to remove it. And then of course I'm going to end the if, and I'm going to comment this out because I don't need it. Right? Next I, and then end sub. So let's try it out. Run combo box 1. I'm going to delete asset. Does asset get deleted? Yeah, asset gets deleted. I try to delete environment. Environment doesn't get deleted. People doesn't get deleted. Reputation doesn't get deleted. Right? So if I prove it to you, I see all of it again, and I delete asset, and yeah, asset gets deleted. Okay. So that's about it for single combo box. Now let's move on to dynamic combo box or dependent combo box. Okay, sorry, it's not dynamic, it's dependent combo boxes, right? Because we have covered dynamic combo box, but in the context of a single combo box. Now we're going to go into dependent combo box. So let's open our practice workbook. Here's the practice problem on our dependent drop-down combo box. All right, it's based on the table here below, right? So in this table, we have 3 columns, one for people, second one for environment, and the third one for asset. And underneath it, we have the constituents or dependencies for each category, right? Categories are people, environment, and asset. So the question is requiring us that if the user selects people on the primary combo box, then the dependent of the secondary combo box should populate the results of people, and likewise for environment and asset. The form should contain 2 sets of combo box, right? So you should have the first primary, the first dependency for the primary, the second primary, the second dependency for the primary. Okay. Ensure when the primary combo box category is changed. Okay, this one. Ensure the dependent combo box is only activated when the primary combo box has values in it. Right? So what basically this means is that only when the primary has values in it, the sub or the dependent can be activated. Right? We'll see how to do that. Then the third one is ensure when the primary combo box category is changed, the corresponding text on the dependent combo box does not show the value of the previous selected entry. For example, the user check. Okay, so basically, if I changed my primary entry here from people to environment, then I do not want to see traces of my previous dependency of the primary. Okay, so for example, when I selected people, I should see the constituents for people, right, in the subcategory. But now, if I change it to environment, okay, on the primary, I don't want to see the dependencies from the previous primary, which was people, right? Basically, the question does not want to see the previous primary, right? Basically, that's what it is, right? So we'll see how to get around that. Then, ensure the users are not able to write into the combo box. So this combo box strictly to be controlled from the drop-down list. Okay, you can't type whatsoever onto it. Dependent combo box should be dynamic. Okay, basically can account for deletion and addition into the table. Right. So basically, if I'm adding or deleting anything into any of these 3 columns, so the value should be reflected dynamically into the user form. So if I'm adding something into environment, then I click environment, I should be able to see what I've just added. Likewise, for anything that I've removed, okay, it should be dynamic. And whenever you have dynamic, you go into algo. Okay, so let's see how we can tackle this problem. I'm going to go insert a user form into a fresh worksheet, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the form, but I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I'm just going to show you the first 2, and then I'm going to fast forward the thing. Okay, but before that, we're going to name the form. What's the code name? I'm just going to name it something simple. And then caption is just dependent form. Okay, so if you're not seeing the toolbox, go to view and make sure the toolbox is checked. Right, you will be able to see it and all the associated controls. Okay, so now the first thing I want my label, and then I'm going to name the label as just category 1. Okay, category 1. And then I'm going to increase the font size to something bigger. Okay, size 14 maybe. Okay, and then I'm going to insert a combo box. The combo box is inserted here, and then I'm just going to enlarge it, make it wider. Okay, now I'm going to copy 4 exact labels and 4 exact combo boxes, right? And I've shown you how to do the alignment, right, using the left and the top. So I'm going to fast forward the video, and I'll see you in a while. Alright guys, so I'm back, and now we're going to name the combo box to something that we can recognize. So this one, the code name is combo box 1. I'm okay with it. I don't want this to combo box 2. I want it to be sub combo box 1 rather. Okay, to indicate it's a dependency. Combo box 2 for this one. This one is going to be sub combo box 2. Okay, so sub combo box 2, combo box 2, sub combo box 1, and combo box 1. Now I'm going to insert a module because I want to write a sub procedure to call the user form from the worksheet. So let's do that. Sub frm, what's the form name? Dependent dot show. So this one is going to show the form. And we're going to assign it to some shape or whatever. Okay. And then I'm just going to assign a macro. Now I'm able to see the form. Look at that. Category 1, subcategory 1, category 2, subcategory 2. Now we have no values. So we're going to use the initialization event to populate values into the 2 primary combo boxes. And that is what we're going to do now. We're going to go to the initialization event because that's the event that doesn't appear on the background. But this event runs prior to the user form being loaded before our eyes. Okay, so we're going to populate the 2 primary combo box. How do we do it? Add item. People, right? Environment. And then we have asset, right? So this is the primary combo box. And then we're also going to do for the second primary combo box, which was combo box 2. Well, I can just copy paste, right? And that will be more convenient for us. But you have to be very careful when you're copying and pasting, okay? I wouldn't discourage from copying and pasting, right? It saves a lot of time, but generally just be careful when you copy and paste because we tend to make mistakes, right? If you're not careful with it. So now we are pretty much done with the populating the 2 primary combo box. Now if I run it, okay, it's in the user form initialize event, I should be able to see it, right? Yeah, I'm able to see the thing, right? I'm able to see it. So we're not seeing the dependencies because that would depend on the entry that we have selected, okay? And we'll go into that later on, okay? So now we are going to deal with the first combo box of the dependency, right? So what happens when I make a selection on the first combo box and I want to see the values reflected accordingly to what I've selected, right? So I have 3 possible options: people, environment, and asset. Okay? So first thing I'm going to say is that if me on the combo box 1, right, the first primary combo box, if me dot combo box 1, right, I can use IntelliSense control enter to select what has been highlighted. I can say if this is equals to people, then me dot sub, okay, that's the sub, the dependency of the first one, okay, and we're going to populate it using the row source. Okay, we're going to populate it using the row source, okay, and range, a little bit humor comes a long way, especially when we're doing something, starts from 12, right, especially when we're doing a lot of programming, right? So A12 is where it starts from, right, and we're going to concatenate that. It's a dynamic range, so we're going to concatenate that with the L row. So we don't have the L row yet. We will do it later on, okay? We will declare it later on, okay? So we're just going to have it here, okay? We're going to have it here. And remember, you always have the external and true. It's a good practice to have this, okay? And then I'm going to end the if. And what I have for people, I'm going to copy for the environment and the asset. So Control V and then Control V. So what do we have to change when we... The first thing, you have to be careful with the value. It should be environment. Okay. And the second thing, combo box 1, row source. Okay. B should be B, right? Environment is located on B. And L row is people? No, it's not L row people. It should be a different L row. And we're just going to call it environment. Okay, make sure there's no typo. And then asset, this is in column C, right? And L row, asset. Okay, so the reason I'm concatenating it with the L row is because the values that we are fetching is dynamic. So it could be added, entries could be removed. See, right? So the row source, we have basically the combo box 1, basically the first primary is environment. The dependency should return all the basically corresponding dependencies on range B12 to the last row. So we don't have the last row yet, but I'll get to it. So what we're doing on the first combo box, we are going to replicate that for the second combo box. Okay, second combo box change event. We're going to replicate all of this, copy and paste it, except it's going to be the same. Everything is going to be the same except the combo box 1. Whenever you see 1 here, it's going to be replaced with 2. So you can go in and change each one manually. I don't do that. I rather use I'll be inside the procedure, so it's going to be anywhere inside the procedure. Hit Control F, go to replace, then go to current procedure, and then what you're going to do, okay, I'm just going to drag it here. I'm going to say find what? I'm going to find combo box 1, and I'm going to replace it with combo box 2. Okay, and direction is all, okay, throughout the procedure. Then I'm going to start replacing it. You're going to see it's going to highlight the first one to indicate that you want to replace that. Yes, I want to replace that to 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2 here, 1 to 2 here, 1 to 2 here, and that's all. Okay, so that's a shortcut to change your thing. I mean, to change your variables. Okay, when you're doing your copy paste. All right, as I've said, I don't discourage you from doing it, but you have to be very careful because it's very easy to fall into error. Now, what about the L row? Okay, what I want to do is instead of having the L row declared in the combo box 1 and combo box 2, right? I rather declare it as a private variable so that it's accessible throughout the module, right? I want to declare it as a private variable. Okay, so I'm going to say private L row people as long. Private L row environment. Make sure you don't make typo, right? I don't know if I've made any typo. I hope I have not, right? But we will be able to see when we run the code. Asset as long. And then what I'm going to do is I've declared it. Now I'm going to assign the values of the L row. Where am I going to assign it? Obviously, you wouldn't assign it on the combo box change event, right? Right? You want to get the value registered as soon as the user form is loaded. That's why you're gonna get the value registered in the initialization event. Okay, prior to the form displaying before our eyes, not when the form is changing. Right, you need to get the last row prior to it showing up. Okay, you need to get the values up and going. Right. What am I doing? Okay, I don't know. What did I copy? Right. So I should not be copying all this. Okay, so I'm pasting what I previously copied, right? I shouldn't be copying that. Okay, this was from the combo box change here. So make sure this is clean. Yeah, right. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm going to say L row people equals to sheet 1 range people was just A and rows dot count dot and XL up dot row. What about L row environment? Hope I'm not making any silly typos, right? But we'll be able to get that, right? Identify that, right? During running of the code, right? But because I'm recording a video, I don't want to make too many mistakes because it's going to slow down the video, right? So I hope we don't make too many mistakes. And L row for asset sheet 1 dot range C and rows dot count dot N XL up Why am I typing it? I should be copying and pasting it, but never mind. Okay, so that's how we find the L rule for people. So what I've done is I've declared it as a private, and then it's declared here. And because it's a private, it's available throughout all the procedures within this module or this user form. Okay, so I hope we're good. People environment asset, I'm just going to check it one last time. Okay, seems to be good. Let's run the form. So if I go to people, environment, I should be able to see all the dependencies. People, I should be able to see all the dependencies, right? Now, asset here, I'm able to see all the dependencies. Environment. Okay, great. So it seems to be working fine. So now let's do the fixings, right? What are the fixings that we have to do? The first fixing was ensure the dependent combo box is only activated when the primary combo box has values in it, right? So what's happening now is that if I go environment here, you see, even if I not have anything selected here, this thing, it's still enabled, right? It's still enabled. So basically, the question is requiring us not to basically, if I have nothing here, if I have nothing selected, then this thing should be disabled. Only if I have something here, this thing should be enabled. So it's a very simple thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to subcategory 1, and I'm going to go to enabled, right? This for the subcategory, I'm going to disable the enabled there, right? So the way to do it is to change it to false. Okay, I'm going to look for enabled, and I'm going to change this to false. And the same thing, I'm going to do it for the second one. I'm going to change this to false. So I've changed both of them to false. Now they're both false by default. Okay, so if I change any value, this thing is still disabled. But now what I want to say is that if I have some values in it, these dependencies, the corresponding dependencies should be enabled, right? Should be enabled for us to make the necessary selection. So all I'm going to say is that a very simple code, okay? All I'm going to say is that if me, I'm going to write it above, okay? If me dot combo box 1 dot value is not equals to empty, right? So basically, if it's not empty in the primary combo box, right? Then the sub combo box. So if it's not empty, then we just say true. So basically, yes, you can make selection. So only if it's not empty, right? So if it's empty, it's false. Not empty, the initial false. So it's initially false. As soon as I have some value, all right, I have to end the if. Okay. As soon as I have some value, and then as soon as I have some value, it turns to true. Okay. So you see the second one, you see, it's not activated. So I have to do the same thing. I'm going to copy this onto the second primary, and I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to change this to 2 and 2, right? But make sure you're very careful, all right, when you are copying and pasting, right? Because I tend to make mistakes sometimes, so that's why I encourage you to check through your code. Okay, so now it's if I run this again, okay, you see, as soon as I do this, it's enabled. Now this thing is disabled. When I make a selection, it's enabled. Okay, so we've done the first section. Okay, the first fixing have been done, right? The second fixing, ensure when the primary combo box category is changed, right? So this is now the problem. The second problem is when I have a problem here, if I have people here, now if I go to environment, I'm still seeing the dependency from the people. And that's something I don't want. When I have environment, I don't want to see the people anymore. So what I can do, right? And this is a very common problem that a lot of users face, right? They don't want to have that previous dependency floating around when you have made a new selection, right? So now to reset, we're going to just do a very simple thing. We're going to say me dot sub combo box 1, right? As in so whenever the combo box 1 has been changed, we're going to reset. Okay, that's all it's doing. Now, if I run this, okay, I'm going to see that if I change to people, this thing has been reset. Okay, there's nothing on it. So what I'm doing on the first one, I'm going to copy and paste it. And as I've told you, be careful. Make sure you change them accordingly. Okay, so test it. Always test your code. test your user form over and over again. Now, if I go environment, I go to people, it's been reset. Okay, so we have solved the two problems. Okay, activated on this solved the problem. Now the third one and the final one, and then I think we're good, right? Because this is already dynamic. Okay, this is already dynamic. We have the L row. So if I just run it, you're gonna see, if I select people, I'm gonna see whatever that's been added into it, right? So now we're gonna try to do the same for environment. I'm just gonna delete this thing. Okay, so if I run the thing, we're gonna see, right? We only have 3 entry. We've deleted the fourth one. Okay. Likewise, I could just do the same thing for asset, and I'm just putting some gibberish there, right? Just to see if the value gets registered. Yep, the value is registered. Okay. So for the same thing, right? Whatever that you're seeing the first one, you will definitely see it in the second one, right? It's the same L row. Okay. So the problem D, that has been solved. Now is the last one where ensure the users are not able to write into the combo box. So remember the keyword, the key press event that we went through? That's exactly what we're going to do here. Okay. We're going to have a key press for each of the combo box. We're going to use the key press event. Okay. And I rather just copy and paste it in the end, right? And then remember the word key ASCII equals to 0. Okay, so you might want to remember this keyword, right? Key ASCII equals to 0. And then we're going to do it for all the combo box. Okay, so combo box 1, I can just, instead of calling it over and over again, I can just change it like that, right? Combo box 2. And then this was sub combo box 1, right? The dependencies. And then this was sub combo box 2. Okay. So now, if I, first of all, I'm just going to disable this, right? I'm just going to comment this out. I'm going to show you exactly what this thing is going to do when it's enabled. You see, now I'm able to type into these, right? I'm able to type into it. I don't want that. I want this combo box to be entirely controlled by this drop down list. I don't want people to be able to type into it, right? So this is a common problem. That's why we have this key ASCII code on each of the combo box. So now when this is uncommented, it's now a code and no longer a comment. If I run this, you're going to see the effect taking place. I'm not able to type into it. See? Select something, I can type into it. I can type into it. And I can type into it. Okay. So that's about it. I think we have perfected this user form. And I hope you guys have learned something. In the next session, we will be going through the list box mapping. So keep pushing forward. Keep pushing forward. I'll see you then. Take care.